The sterile fluorescence of the hospital corridor blurred through David's tears as he clutched his daughter's favorite stuffed bear, the one she'd begged him not to forget. Room 304, the nurse had said. But in his panic, his mind spinning with worst-case scenarios about Emma's sudden fever and the doctor's concerned whispers, he'd stumbled into room 314 instead. The woman lying in the bed looked nothing like his 6-year-old daughter. She was perhaps 30, painfully thin, with a silk scarf wrapped around her head where hair should have been. Her eyes were closed, and for a terrifying moment, David thought he'd walked in on something private, something final. He stepped backward, muttering an apology, but those eyes opened, startling green, like spring leaves catching sunlight, and found his face. "You're not the dinner lady," she said, her voice carrying a lightness that seemed impossible given her frail appearance. "Unless the hospital has seriously upgraded its delivery service." David's mouth opened and closed. "I'm so sorry. I'm looking for my daughter. I thought this was room 304. She smiled, and it transformed her entire face. "Common mistake. I'm in the unlucky room. 13 reversed. Figures." She noticed the teddy bear in his grip. "Your daughter okay?" Something in her directness, the absence of small talk or social pleasantries, made him honest. "I don't know. They won't tell me much. High fever, some concerning symptoms. I'm terrified." The admission surprised him. He hadn't said those words out loud, not even to himself. "Then go," she said gently. "But maybe come back sometime and tell me she's fine. I could use some good news around here." He found Emma's room and spent the next 6 hours in a fog of medical jargon and mounting dread until finally, blessedly, the fever broke. It was just a severe virus, they said. She'd be fine. As Emma slept peacefully for the first time in 24 hours, David remembered the woman in room 314. Without quite understanding why, he found himself walking back. She was awake, staring at the ceiling tiles as though they held secrets. "She's going to be okay," David said from the doorway. Her face lit up. "That's wonderful. Come in, please. I've been counting those tiles for 3 hours. I could use the distraction." That's how it started. David learned her name was Sarah, that she was an elementary school teacher on indefinite medical leave, that she had stage 4 ovarian cancer with a prognosis measured in months, not years. She learned about Emma, about David's wife who'd left them 2 years ago when motherhood didn't match the Instagram version she'd imagined, about his struggles to be both parents at once while managing a demanding job as an architect. The conversations should have been depressing, but Sarah had this way of finding light in darkness. She told terrible jokes that made him groan laugh. She asked about Emma's interests and sent David home with suggestions for books and activities from her teaching days. When he admitted he'd burned dinner 3 times that week, she laughed until tears streamed down her face. "I wish I could burn dinner right now," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'd kill for a chance to catastrophically fail at something normal." David started visiting every few days, then daily. Emma came too, once she was recovered, initially shy but soon chattering away about first grade and her loose tooth. Sarah listened like Emma was revealing the secrets of the universe. She taught Emma how to make origami cranes from hospital napkins, weak fingers folding deliberately while Emma watched in fascination. "Make 1,000 and you get a wish," Sarah told her. "We've got about 997 to go." The nurses started calling them the room 314 family. David brought real food to supplement hospital meals, nothing fancy, just pasta or sandwiches, but Sarah savored every bite. He brought books they'd read aloud, taking turns with different character voices. Emma brought drawings that Sarah taped to her walls until the sterile white disappeared under a gallery of crayon masterpieces. 3 months in, Sarah's condition deteriorated sharply. David arrived one evening to find her barely conscious, machines beeping urgently. The doctor pulled him aside. "She doesn't have much family drive," Martinez said carefully. "A brother overseas, some distant cousins. You've been her primary visitor. You should know, we're talking days, maybe a week." David felt the floor shift beneath him. He'd known, of course he'd known, but knowing and confronting the reality were different continents of grief. That night, sitting beside Sarah's bed while Emma slept in a visitor's chair, David held Sarah's hand and realized something that terrified him: he loved this woman. Not the desperate, passionate love of romance novels, but something deeper, a recognition of souls, an appreciation for who she fundamentally was. She'd taught him to find joy in small moments, to be present with Emma instead of constantly anxious, to laugh in the face of life's cruelty. When Sarah woke near midnight, groggy but alert, he told her. The words tumbled out clumsily, honestly. I know this is crazy, he said. I know we met in the worst possible circumstances. But you've changed my life. You've changed Emma's life. And I hate that I found you just to lose you. Sarah was quiet for so long he thought he'd made a terrible mistake. Then, I've been so angry about dying young. Furious at all the things I'll never do. Never get married, never have kids of my own, never grow old with someone. But these months with you and Emma, they've been the happiest of my life. Isn't that strange? Dying, but happier than ever. Marry me, David said suddenly. I know it sounds insane, but marry me. Let me give you that experience. Let us be your family, officially, for whatever time we have. She stared at him, green eyes wide. David, you can't possibly. I'm completely serious. I love you, Sarah. Emma loves you. You've been more of a partner to me in 3 months than my ex-wife was in 5 years. This isn't pity, it's recognition. 3 days later, in room 314 surrounded by nurses who'd become friends and Emma in a white dress holding a bouquet of grocery store flowers, David and Sarah were married by a hospital chaplain. Sarah wore a scarf Emma had picked out, bright yellow with butterflies, and smiled so radiantly that for a moment, she didn't look sick at all. They had 11 more days together as husband and wife. Days where David brought breakfast and they ate together watching sunrise through the hospital window. Days where Emma crawled into the bed for gentle cuddles and stories. Days of morphine haze where Sarah drifted but squeezed David's hand when he spoke. Days of saying everything that mattered and finding peace in the silence between words. Sarah died on a Tuesday morning with David holding one hand and Emma holding the other, the walls still covered in crayon drawings and origami cranes numbered to 463. The grief was oceanic, but so was the gratitude. A year later, David stood in Emma's second-grade classroom for parent visiting day. On the wall was a project, What Makes a Family? Emma had drawn 3 figures, her, David, and an angel with a yellow butterfly scarf. That's my mom Sarah, Emma explained to her teacher. She was only my mom for a little while, but Dad says real family isn't about time, it's about love. And we loved her a whole lot. David blinked back tears, remembering Sarah's laugh, her terrible jokes, her determination to find light even in the darkest places. He'd entered the wrong room and found exactly what he and Emma had needed, not a fairy tale ending, but something more valuable. A reminder that love doesn't wait for perfect circumstances, that family is built through choosing each other, and that sometimes the deepest connections come from the most unexpected places. In his pocket, he carried origami crane number 464, the last one Sarah had folded, fingers trembling but determined. He'd finish the 1,000 someday, he decided. And when he made that wish, it would be a thank you, for the wrong room, the right person, and the brief, beautiful gift of loving Sarah.